We're back, 7 Rivers Racing, KQE GTV. Thank goodness for commercial breaks, because your face is awfully red, Al.
Oh, my.
We're back with our two guests. I've known them for the entirety. As a matter of fact, I think Kaleb was one of the first drivers, I think, that I met when I moved to Sparta about 7.5 years ago. Met Megan about 2 years afterwards, after she started venturing into the Hornet class at the Crosse Speedway. I'm famous for giving some nicknames out at the racetrack, and some of them have really, really stuck. Dakota Miller, your brother, told me this year, you know, I'm not a kid anymore. I can't have the name. So it's now, Dakota, I'm not the kid, Miller, on the lighter side. Kaleb Miller didn't have a nickname until about 4 years ago at the Crosse Speedway on a Smash-A-Rama night. Explain to our viewers how I gave you the nickname, the Trunk Monkey.
Well, that was quite the interesting night. I don't think anybody's had it before, but Dan had nothing to say when this event took place.
I was stunned.
Yeah.
And me and my little brother had a prior wager going on about a rollover contest and who could roll a car more. And so we each brought our own cars, and I thought it would have been a good time. And he went first. He ended up rolling all the way over, and he set the bar kind of high for me, but my little brother, I could take it. So I go through and I try and roll my car, and didn't quite hit the ramp right, so it just flopped on the roof and it caved in a little bit. Well, I figure Dakota's going to hit the ramp one more time. I'll give it a shot too. And the second time I hit it, we never foresaw this coming, but the roof actually collapsed in on the car, and I got wedged in there for probably a good 3 or 4 minutes.
Oh, yeah. And which to me seemed like about a half an hour. So the rescue crews come out and do a fantastic job at Crosse Speedway. And the first thing when we have an incident happen at the track, I like to find out the driver's okay, so we let the fans know. And I had seen a little bit of movement in the car, and again, you're upside down, and the whole roof had caved in, so you could just barely see you in there. And they couldn't get him out. There was no way they could get him out. So Dakota sees this that's going on, and he runs off the track, and of course that's his brother. He wants to get him out of the car. They had to kick the back windshield out and finally got him through the trunk of the car. And the way he kind of scurried out looked like a little monkey. So now he has a monkey, the cheese monkey, on the side of his car. And for the past 4 years, you've been the trunk monkey.
Yeah, and it's stuck pretty good. I've had a couple different jobs in the last few years, and every job I get, after a week or so, somebody will come up to me that I haven't met before. Hey, you're the trunk monkey, aren't you? And I've never met him before, and it's a little hilarious to me that people all around the area, La Crosse, Sparta, Bangor, they come right up and they know who I am, and I'm trying to figure out where I've seen him before or where they might have heard it.
And then the same thing with Mega Monster, Megan Urch. I was doing a smoker for your other brother, Brad Worthen. I want to say, was that 3 years ago?
Yeah, at least.
And after, you know, there was some adult beverages tipped in there, I was saying she didn't have a nickname. And you were right at the time. We had the Cotton Candy Kid, Killa Steinhoff. We had Daniel, Don't Get Near Me, Neary. And then we had Megan Urch, and we needed a nickname. So her friends, luckily, were standing by, and we threw one out there, and you can see in her shirt that one is stuck for the past 3 years. Do people know you by the Mega Monster now?
They've kind of always known me as the Mega Monster, thanks to my mom. That's actually where the nickname originated. That's why I love it so much.
Highlighted it.
Yes. And my mother loves that. Just so you know, she gets a big kick out of it every time you say it. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Well, talk to us about the Hornet field this year. You guys, on average, 3 years ago, I think we averaged 42 cars. Last year, we were down some. It was in the upper 30s. This year, again, we're averaging over 40 cars each night. That's quite the field. Well, of course, we were on 2 different features, but you've really got to be racing if you want to make one of those features.
Yeah, and where you're at in points depends if you're in a faster feature or the slower feature, and trying to figure out the competition is the hardest part, because a lot of Hornet drivers, they race as hard as they can, but they don't look and see what's coming ahead of them. So if there's a wreck and they're not paying attention, they plow right to it. And when you get 22 cars in the field and a car goes sideways, it turns into a mess.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, and I think the worst corner would be turn 1, because it turns into some of a wider space.
Right.
And then you've got everybody going wide and then coming together like this. You got the dip, and then you got to be down the bank straightaway. And turn 4 with that tire. I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen that tire get pummeled coming into turn 4 in the past 7 years. But I mean, but obviously you've been out there long enough, and you've got a whole handful of drivers, at least probably 20 of them, You got the Wood Racing family. You've got Larry Hullett. You've got John Aaron the Madman. You've got
Kyle Swenson.
Kyle Swenson, John Petrowski, the Monkey Man. You've got so many drivers that have been out there with each other year after year after year. You know how each other drives, but this year you've got a lot of young rookie drivers out there. Does it concern you at all when you're out there?
Well, we were talking before when we had gone out, and the rookies are to keep the eye on, because you get the veteran drivers, it gets down to the last few laps of a race, and we're trying to get around the rookie drivers. And some people lose their patience and end up getting into the back of somebody, so you really got to keep your eye out of what's going on and try to help the rookies out. And if their car ain't handling, or if you can give them some tips, go ahead, try and give it to them, so they're competition in the future, but it also gets them better acquainted with the racetrack.
As Dan mentioned earlier, you have that bottleneck going into turn 1. The big tire down there that defines turn 1 isn't always in the exact same place, is it?
No.
So
it's
how do
never in the same spot.
How do you deal with that as far as setting your car up? Because sometimes you got to really spin the rear end out in order to get that car around it.
It's mainly just going to the corner. It's a feel for that car. That car's kind of temperamental, but
gee, like it's car owner.
I think the easiest part when you're out in practice is trying to run that second lane, because when the tire goes out, even if a car hits it, most of the time when the cars hit it, they'll either push it back in or it'll go out even farther. So if you can try and get your car set up for the second lane, then you can play back and forth with it. You get a better setting of you're not going to be out to lunch.
There you go.
And next time you watch videos or you see the Crosse Speedway, you're at the track, watch that tire in turn 1, because it makes it more of a challenge. And you wouldn't even think, you talk about a late model, the first thing you think about is you talk about setup. And the same thing with Sportsman. But setting up a Hornet car, you wouldn't think is, these little Honda Civics and Toyotas, and you wouldn't think it's that much to set it up, but it actually is. I mean, ask Kathy Swenson. I think she's the queen of tire setups at the Crosse Speedway. Before we let you guys go, I know you got some great sponsors helping you out this year.
Yes, the Log Cabin is a continued sponsor. I just want to send get well out to Don. He recently broke his ankle.
Yep.
So, and then we've got Termeyer Auto, Schmidt Services, David Cavan's Auto Detail, Billy Bob's Garage, of course, Critter Did Fab, and then we've got my mom Amy and his mom Denise, and then my stepdad Henry and my sister Chelsea. And Advantage Auto Salvage.
That sounds like it would be a good one for the Hornets.
Yeah, that is quite a great sponsor.
Yep.
Oh yes, definitely.
Billy Bob's Garage. If he doesn't mention that, then Kaleb doesn't have a place to go home to sleep tonight, because obviously that's Billy Miller, big name in racing here on many tracks throughout western Wisconsin. He and Steve Scholes. Every time I think of one, I think of the other because of all the racing they put down here. That is the Mega Monster, Megan Urch, and the Truck Monkey, Kaleb Miller. Thank you guys for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us. It was nice to come down.
Gonna have to have them come in here. We've got Smash-A-Rama coming up. Not sure. Are you gonna do the?
Well, now that we got that little rivalry going on, I'm just going to make sure I got a really nice solid car. That way it don't turn into the Smash Trunk Monkey.
We're going to have to try to get some highlights of that Smash-A-Rama coming up here in just a couple of weeks. That's going to do it for the program. You can find us on YouTube/Seven Rivers Racing. Check out the Facebook page, Seven Rivers Racing. And Saturdays, I've got the show on AM 580 WKTY. That is the Race Report. For Megan and Kaleb and Al Ossie, I'm Dan Dagger. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week with more video and more highlights right here on Seven Rivers Racing on KQEG TV.